Hi guys, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel leelawebdev. So we are learning about the element injector, right? So let's try to learn about some more concept about this injector hierarchy. So first of all, we'll try to learn about the relationship between the components, directives and also the providers in the Angular. So let's try to learn about this one. So the components and the directives as a directives. So here let's try to see about the shared nature, first one. Both components and also the directives are essentially directives. So normally if you try to observe carefully in Angular, components are nothing but a directives only. This means that they share the many of the same characteristics and capabilities. So components is also one type of directive only, and directives are normal directives. So that means they both have some type of same characteristics and capabilities. Directive and also the component. The directive and the component decorators are used to define the directives and components respectively, as you people already aware of this one. Both decorators have a providers property. So both the component and also a directive both have a providers property, allowing them to configure providers for their respective element injectors. So that means for the element injectors, so we can add the providers elements for that one. So next we will try to learn about the providers and also an element injectors. Providers property. So you people already know that in the component and also in the directive we have a special property, that is nothing but provider property, where you can give the services which are needed for the component injection. So when you use the providers property in a component or a directive, you are defining providers that will be associated with its element injector. An element injector is a container for providers that are specific to a particular component or a directive. It manages the resolution and also injection of dependencies for that component or directive. Next one is a shared injector. Components and directives that are on the same element share the same element injector. This means that any providers configured for one of them can be accessed by the other. So that is one thing which you need to understand. So here let's try to understand about the implications that for the element injector. First one is the local scope. Providers defined using the providers property in a component or a directive have a local scope. They are only accessible within the component or directive itself and its child components or directives. So that is there only you can able to access the providers. Components and directives can use dependency injection to access the providers that are configured for their element injector. This allows them to interact with other parts of the application in a modular and a reusable way. And component level services. By defining providers in a component, you can create services that are specific to that component and its child components. This can help you organize your application's logic and keep it well structured. So by total, in the summary, what I want to tell you is both components and directives can configure providers using the providers property. These providers are associated with the element injector of the component or the directive and can be accessed by the other components or directives of the same element. This mechanism allows for a flexible and a modular approach to the dependency management in the Angular applications. So now coming to the next part, that is now we need to understand the process of token resolution in Angular, incorporating the insights from the provided. So now the token resolution process, we will try to learn it. First one is component's own element injector. When a component declares a dependency, Angular first checks its own element injector to see if it can provide the required token or not. This element injector is specified to the component and holds providers defined with its template or code, the first place where it will try to check it. Next one is the parent element injector. If the component's element injector does not have the provider, so the particular component which is accessing that dependency is not having that in the element injector means, then Angular moves up the element injector hierarchy to the parent component. It continues searching through each parent's element injector until it finds a provider or reaches the root component. The root component is nothing but the app component. And next comes the environment injector. If no provider is found in the element injector hierarchy, Angular then checks the environment injector. This environment injector is shared by all the components in the application and typically holds the providers for services that are application wide. So here you will be having all the dependencies and all the things which is shared for all the application wide. An error. If the provider is still not found in the environment injector means Angular throws an error indicating that dependency cannot be resolved. So in this way the element hierarchy will be, injector hierarchy will be working. So the next part what we will try to see is the provider resolution. So priority base. So which one will be taken in the priority? If multiple providers for the same token are registered at the different levels, Angular uses the first one it encounters in the resolution process. The first one which has been encountered, it uses in the resolution process. This means that a provider defined locally in the component will be taken precedence over a provider defined in the parent component or the environment injector. So that means the component which is mentioned locally, it has been taken more important than the dependencies that is mentioned in the root component or the root environment injector or in the parent component. For example, let's say that if a component needs a service and there are providers for that service registered in the both the component and its parent means, then the component provider will be used. So this is how the provider's resolution will be checked in this one. So totally the key points in this video you need to understand is the Angular token resolution mechanism ensures that dependencies are resolved in a predictable and efficient manner. The element injector hierarchy allows for modularization and also the encapsulation of providers within the components. The environment injector provides a way to share services across the entire application. The priority given to the providers defined in the component ensures the local customization taken precedence over the global defaults. By understanding this process, you can effectively manage dependencies in your Angular application and ensure that your components have access to the necessary services and also the data. So this is all about what I want to tell you is the element injector. Hope you understood about this concept of this element injector. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.